Welcome the Women at Value I Am Peace Virtual Summit, a unique encounter of Christian and Jewish women of influence.
Hello, ladies. My name is Nancy Azeez, and for as long as I can remember, the devil has had a target on my back, and his aim is to destroy me by any means necessary. Today, I want to tell you a story. This is a story of pain, of faith, of resilience, and overcoming. And as I speak, I pray that you will find within yourself, or perhaps your story in mine as well. My goal today is to inspire you to overcome the traumatic experiences that life has brought your way or may bring your way and live the life that God purposed for you. See, I was raised in Ghana, West Africa, and I was raised by a single mother. I always like to say that I was raised by a village because I lived in so many different homes growing up. I was raised by my single mom and also my grandma and a bunch of other people. Amidst all that confusion came abuse, molestation, and I even contracted polio. If you know anything about polio, you know that polio is a devastating disease that destroyed and took so many lives of children. Now, because I grew up in such poverty, my mom did not have the resources to the right treatment. And so the way that it affected my limbs, especially my left leg, I did not even begin to walk until I was almost 3 years old. Now, I mentioned the abuse and the molestation. Even before I was about 6 years old, I had already been molested by over 5 different men. As a child growing up in this way, you can imagine the pain, the trauma that this created in my life. My dad was not someone that I knew. And so you can imagine the rejection, fear, intimidation, feeling abandoned, feeling alone, feeling like an orphan. And growing up in the culture that I grew up in, when you've been molested or even raped or abused, it's almost as if it's your fault. And so as a child, knowing this and knowing the culture that I was in, I couldn't tell anybody. And so I suffered in silence. And I'm sure there's something that you've been through that you had to suffer in silence, just like I did. But God. Now, fast forward that I came into the United States when I was 12. My mom met a man that she married, and I was so excited to be here. Well, like I said in the beginning of this video, the devil has had a target on my back, and his aim is to destroy me any means necessary. And so in high school, right before graduation, right before I could even go to college, my stepdad raped me in a hotel room while we were on tour looking for colleges. I was extremely broken. I was devastated because I trusted him. I was so happy that finally I have a father figure in my life. But when this happened, you can imagine what it did to me. My spirit was broken. My faith in God was shattered because I was asking myself, how can God let this happen? And I'll be very honest with you. I was very angry with God for so many years. I rebelled. And the sad and painful thing about this experience is that I could not even tell my mom. When I finally got the courage to tell her, she did not believe me. And now, living at home with my rapist and my mother, who doesn't believe me, became extremely, extremely toxic. And because of living in that environment, I made a lot of wrong decisions. I made a lot of wrong choices. Choices that I'm not proud of. But once again, but God. No matter how low we fall, no matter how vile life treats us, no matter how bad things get, God is always on the scene. I'm reminded in the book of Esther, God is not mentioned one time in that. but he was always on the scene. He was always there orchestrating things, even when things got so bad. And so as I continue my story, I want to pause and tell you that no matter what you're going through today, no matter how painful the situation may seem, no matter what mental health battles you're dealing with, what traumatic experiences you're dealing with, I want you to know that God is on the scene. It's easy for me to say that now because I know how far God has brought me and I know the resilience, the victory that I have experienced. But when you are going through that painful situation, when you're going through that traumatic moments and you feel like, where is God? It doesn't feel like he's there, but I want to encourage you and I want you to know that no matter what you're going through today, he is on the scene. And he knows, as a loving father, I call him daddy. As my daddy, I know that he will bring you out the same way he brought me out. I know that victory is yours the same way he gave me victory. I know that you can overcome and you can live the life free from trauma, free from mental health battles, free from pain, the way God did in my life. Fast forward to that, once again, the devil had a target on me. And with that, I got married at the age of 25. I thought I knew what I was doing, but the truth was I was running away from home. And that relationship was just my way of escape. It wasn't the right one, but it was my way of escape. As many of you make decisions when you're trying to leave one thing to another, you make poor decisions. But God. Of course, 5 years into the marriage, the man that I was with, a Christian, saved, he committed infidelity, and that we ended up having a divorce. This was also another blow to my self-esteem, my self-confidence, and my trust in God. And those years that I went through asking God, what is happening? Why do these things keep happening to me? Why does it feel like I'm fighting an unseen battle? Well, the truth is, as Christians, the moment that you give your life to God, the moment that you accept and you choose to walk in God's way, in his will, and you choose to be a true kingdom citizen, you are in a battle, even if you can't see it. And the devil will never stop attacking. But God, the God that we serve, knows how to take the ugly situations and turn it around for our good. That's what his word promises us today. And so through the pain of going through this painful, bitter, embarrassing divorce, my breakthrough came one day in church. We had a meeting and a conference actually called Freedom. And in Freedom, I met God. I don't know how to describe it. I can't say that he was there physically, but I know he was there. And he spoke to me and he healed me. It was a spiritual healing that I cannot even begin to describe, but I know that my life changed from that day forward. The way Freedom is set up where you just, someone prays with you. And I remember a woman prayed with me during a conference, and I just fell on the ground and I was laying on the ground crying. And then while on the ground is when God spoke to me, and he told me, I have always been on the scene and I love you so much. And he told me that, even telling you the story, I'm a little bit emotional, but God told me that all those times when all these bad things happened to you, I was there. And today I have come to heal you. I always had you in mind. And today is your day of healing. I remember it like it was yesterday during this conference. And when I got up from the floor, it would feel like I was a newborn, like I had been reborn. And it felt like a load, the heaviest load had been removed from my life. And that's what Freedom did for me. And ever since that day, my life has never been the same. Ever since that day at Freedom, and I know there are many churches that go through this conference called Freedom. And if you are wanting to participate in that, please look around, look at your local churches, reach out to me. But my life was changed. It was like a breath of fresh air when God spoke to me. And it was so specific that God even took me to a place, a time in my life as a child when the enemy attacked me so bad. And God said, I was there. I've always being there. And I want to remind you today that in your situation, God is there. Just reach out. That conference I'm telling you about started with a 2-month teaching and driving to someone's house to study this book on freedom, and then came the conference. So you know that I had to dedicate my time, but God met me at the point of my need. And I want to tell you today that if you will give him your heart, if you will give him your pain, if you will give him your traumatic experiences, if you will give him your disappointments, it's okay to be mad at him. He knows, he loves you, and he understands. Trust me, he will take all of that and create in you something so amazing, something so beautiful, because that's what he did for me. I am a living testimony and a witness to what God can do with broken pieces, with a broken heart, with a rejected child, with a child feeling like no one loves her. And today, I know what God can do. Because when you are scarred by trauma, you do not know who you are. You're only a representative of what has happened to you. Therefore, you cannot even live on God's purpose for your life because you don't know who you are. But pain does not describe you. Trauma does not describe you. But for you to overcome all of that and live the life that God purposed for you, you have to draw close to him. You have to build that intimacy with God. It is only in that time that he can heal you. He is the master architect. He is a doctor. He's a surgeon, that he can take your heart and mend it and make it whole and give that light in you again and bless your life so much that you look back at all the traumatic experiences like I did, and you're like, wow, I cannot believe I survived that. And I also want to tell you, I know this is a topic that a lot of Christians shy away from, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with therapy. I've done so many sessions, over 20 sessions of therapy with a wonderful therapist, a Christian therapist that completely changed my life as well and was an addition to what God did. Even when God brought me a wonderful husband and we got pregnant with our first child, I had to do therapy. Why? Because the healing continued. The healing continued. And even through all the therapy sessions, I discovered more of who I am and who God wants me to be. And so today I want to encourage you as you listen to my story. I hope that something in there also pushed you, or something in there also touched your heart to say, you know what, God, I am ready to give you my life. I am ready to give you all the pain. Trust me, you cannot carry this burden on your own. You cannot continue to carry the baggage of pain on your back. You're not that strong, but God is strong. Even when we are weak, he is strong. And he said to cast all your cares and cast all your burdens upon him because he cares for you. And so today I want to encourage you as you're listening to this, that God is ready to carry you, that God is ready to take all that pain. And God is ready to direct you. He is your GPS. He is ready to direct you and align you with his will and show you who you truly are. Show you who you truly are, just like he did for me. And so today, I live my life changing the lives of other women as a life coach. And it is a passion that I love so much. Even in the business arena, as I conduct business with clients who are not saved, I always let them know the Jesus that I serve and that he can also make a difference even in their business, even if they don't even believe in him. So as I end this today, I want to encourage you, whatever pain you're dealing with or you've dealt, whatever is still hovering around in your life, whatever target the devil has on your back, I want you to know that God is ready to rescue. God is the one who can heal and mend your heart and show you who you are. Will you allow him to do that today? I really hope you will. And I hope that this has been encouraging for you. And I hope that my story of overcoming, coming all the way from Ghana in West Africa, growing up in poverty, experiencing polio, rape, molestation, sexual abuse, divorce, infidelity, the shame, all of that. I hope that you look at all of that and see the person that I am today, that God has made me, and realize that if God can do it for me, He can do it for you as well. I believe it, and I believe in you. And I know that you are an overcomer. You already are an overcomer, even if it doesn't feel like it. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening to me today. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the month or the year. And hey, maybe it's a little bit too early, but you know what? Happy New Year. God bless you.
Thank you for joining us. Tell us, how is your leadership transforming your community?